Thanks for tuning in to another edition of the Business of Fun podcast. I'm your host, Dave Wakeman. Today's guest is a returning guest to the Business of Fun. It's Martin Haigh. He is now at Total Tickets. And so we have a really good conversation about partnerships and ticket technology and all kinds of crazy stuff. But before I get to that, I want to remind you to check out my friends at Booking Protect. I've got a crazy new statistic that I learned last week, which is that 73% of buyers through the Booking Protect partnership program, through all of their partners, purchased tickets in the ticket refund protection in the United Kingdom in March. That's almost 3 out of 4. That's an incredibly crazy large number. And that just points to the need that people feel for peace of mind and security as we continue to work through the pandemic. So check them out at bookingprotect.com. Talk to Kath, Simon, Haley, any of the team. They're all great. They do a fantastic job. And as you can see from that 73% number, it is an important thing to offer your guest peace of mind. Check out the Net Promoter Score worksheet that I've created in partnership with my friends at Eventellect. We decided that Net Promoter Score was a really easy way for people to do market research. And it's important because it tells you a lot about your business. It's 3 questions. It can give you quantitative and qualitative feedback. Super easy, super important. Eventellect has a 77, which we explain why that matters in the worksheet. So send me an email, dave@davewakeman.com. It's a great worksheet. It's a really cool tool, and you can pull the thing together in about 10 minutes, and you can learn a tremendous amount. So check that out. Make sure you get the Talking Tickets newsletter. That's talkingtickets.substack.com, or send me an email, dave@davewakeman.com. I'll get you on the list. It's my weekly ticket newsletter. 5 stories, analysis, action items, free gift offers, all kinds of crazy stuff gets put in there. We're coming up on 100 editions. I'm not sure what I'm going to do for edition number 100, but I'm going to have to figure it out fast now. Talkingtickets.substack.com. It's a great resource. And make sure you check out the Activate tool from my friends at Activity Stream. Activate is a way to help you re-engage with your audience after the pandemic. A lot of people didn't necessarily have the resources or the capability to continue to communicate throughout the pandemic. Some did. Activate will help you re-engage your audience again. It's a great, great tool. So check them out, activitystream.com. So back to Martin Haigh. Martin Haigh is my dude, right? We talk regularly. We have a lot of fun. Martin used to run Ticketmaster in Asia. He's covers these places that I'm totally want to get to, and we talk about that a little bit, like places we'd like to go visit. We talk about Total Tickets. We talk about this idea for a South by Southwest panel that we're looking to put together about how you can make partnerships more valuable for your partners. How you can deliver more value through tickets, right, to sponsorships and to activations and creating a more holistic system around the ticket, which is super important if you have been paying attention, because big businesses and corporate customers have been changing the way they've been buying and using tickets. The trend was there before the pandemic, but it's accelerated since the pandemic because, there were no tickets for people to use for 18 months or so. So this is important. Martin talks with us about all the different technologies and the cool ways that we can use technology. He gives some examples from his work in China. This is it's a really cool conversation, a little different than the last one because we get into some actionable items that no matter what technology you're using or no matter what part of the ecosystem you take part in, it's something that should be on your mind, which is increasing value, right? Which, was kind of a theme of the NPS worksheet that I'm doing with Eventellect, but also the conversation I had with Patrick Ryan, which since I've been talking to Martin about this concept of increasing value, I've been linking to a lot more. It was all about value. So we talk about value, we talk about technology, we talk about trends around the industry. This is a good conversation, and I hope you dig it. So let me know. It's me and Martin Haigh on the Business of Fun. Go ahead.
Wow, there you go. That was unequivocal.
Yeah, right. Now we know I'm recording.
Yes.
So if I want to run, I have to really leave the meeting. So I want to welcome back Martin Haigh to the Business of Fun podcast. Hey, Martin, how are you?
Oh, very good. Thank you very much for having me on the show.
Yeah, well, we have enough conversations that it figures like we should probably record one at least. I mean, this is a second appearance, but it's like I don't care. It's my podcast. I can have people on as often as I want them to. So it's good to have you back.
Well, how are you? I didn't ask you. How are you doing?
I'm totally fine. I just got back from vacation. I was gone for like almost a month in South Florida. So I am completely relaxed. I am totally great. I am completely prepared that this will only last for a certain period of time. But right now I'm enjoying being completely zen.
Wow. Nice. Beautiful. I aspire to that.
That was a completely European holiday I took, right? Where I barely checked my email. There was like messages from everybody like stacked up a mile high. I was like, oh, this is great. I should do this more often.
Yeah, I used to live in America, and I think I got 10 days holiday from my company. Is that common? Is that a lot or not? I felt that wasn't anywhere near enough. I'm European. I need like 30.
Yeah, no, that's probably average. And with my company, right? So we have two things going for us. We have an unlimited vacation policy, and we have 100% vaccination rate from the pandemic.
Perfect. I am double
but I'm not
vaccinated.
hiring. Yeah, but I'm not hiring right now, so it's totally not.
Yeah, you're going to get inundated now with loads of people wanting a job, I'm sure.
I'm certain they will. So let's you've been working on some cool stuff that I figure as we come out of the pandemic, I know that we're still we're at the tail end of this thing, and and my assumption from history is that the tail end of this thing is long and it's filled with bumps in the road, and the uncertainty will remain with us for a little bit of time. But people are planning for the future in a way that they probably haven't for 18 months or 2 years. One thing you've been working on that's pretty interesting, because you and me in normal times, we find ourselves in airports, in a lot of random places. So we have experience talking to people. And one thing that's really cool about what you do is you work a lot with sponsorships and tickets, and the intersection of sponsorships and ticketing. And one of the things that I have been focused on a lot lately is helping partners and sponsors, and then their partners on the teams and the organization side, figure out how to unlock the maximum value of the ticket and the partnership. You have an interesting perspective on this. So let me ask you, coming out of the pandemic, what is some key guidelines and some key points that you can point us to help people understand, how to reclaim some of these sponsorships and partnerships that maybe weakened or lessened or went away during the pandemic, and how you as a partner can show your corporate partners the maximum value from a sponsorship or a partnership?
Thank you very much. Yeah, I think what we need to do is establish more communication between previously siloed stakeholders in the industry. The reason I'm coming at it from this point of view is that the company I work for has a ticketing company, but it also is a production house for a large music and arts festival. And at one stage, I ran ticketing, and I ran sponsorship for this large music and arts festival. And what I realized was there are so many untapped opportunities for ticketing to help sponsors and the promoters to achieve the sponsors' KPIs and things. They're just completely untapped. And so what I want to get out of this is I think that we need to establish more communication between the sponsors, direct communication between the sponsors of events and the ticketing companies, and more communication between the ticketing companies and the promoters, the event organizers, about the power of ticketing to unlock some of those sponsor entitlements and to monetize things.
So if I'm not misunderstanding what you just told me is...
Sorry, didn't I do a good job?
No, you did a good job. What it is you know the drill. I reframe everything so that I can ask another question.
Okay.
I like to give everybody room to think and catch their breath. That's where so I can monologue here. But your hypothesis on this, and this is one I agree with completely, is that there is a breakdown in the way that all the key stakeholders in an event communicate with each other, right? And you're talking about, the venue management, the artist management, the ticket company, the sponsors, everybody kind of there's breakdowns in communication, because often, this is going to be my hypothesis, there's so many people that it's can be very difficult to make sure everybody's on the same page. Now, understanding that, and from my point of view, agreeing with that, how do you help get everybody on the same page? Because one of the things that I try to help people understand is that if we're all pulling in 100 different directions, we can't get anything done. And that's one of the challenges of unlocking the maximum value here. How do you help get people all on the same page so they can pull in the same direction?
Well, I mean, that's a bit difficult because historically, these people haven't really spoken to each other, the sponsor and the ticketing company. Invariably, when I talk to some event organisers or promoters saying, well, why don't you do this or why don't you do that with regards to ticketing, they've already sold the sponsorship, because quite often ticketing comes down the line on when people start involving ticketing companies in discussions about events. Lots of things are already sorted out, or they're just way too busy. So the event organizer said, I haven't got enough time to try and offer a new entitlement or a fresh entitlement or something, or an entitlement no one's ever thought of before to a sponsor. And so that's pretty difficult. I mean, what we're asking for is that, what have I done to try and get these people all together? Well, I've been two of those people in the past. I've been the event sponsor and the ticketing company for the same event. And so therefore I've realized there's all these opportunities, and I've enacted some of the things we may talk about today, I'll put into practice. But we've just got to get more people talking, right? And one of the reasons, one of the ways I'm going to do that, to achieve that, is by doing what we're doing now. Is we're having a talk, and hopefully lots of people will listen to this and think, well, hold on, maybe I'm Visa and I need to talk to Damai, who I think is the new ticketing company for the Olympics or something in China next time, I believe. Things like that. We need direct communication, sitting down, and education is a bit of a horrible word. I think we just have more communication around what's possible.
Yeah, I think that education is one of those words that's becoming in danger of being overused and used in a way that will
disenfranchise people.
Yeah, I was going to say it'll turn people off. It's like
sure.
when people are talking about personal brands or branding, it's been used so poorly for so long that it means absolutely nothing. It basically means people are spamming you. So yes, education probably is heading down that road if we're not careful. So just talking to people, right? Which is one of those things that people come to me and they go, well, I want to talk to you because I know you talk to people. I go, everybody should be talking to people. Business is done by people.
Yeah. And there's another problem, by the way, just before, another problem is that ticketing companies don't sell themselves as sponsorship activation vehicles for lots of reasons. Because one, they don't have many tools that are good for sponsors because they haven't really developed them. And also they don't get paid by the sponsors, they get paid by the promoters. And so really all of their development queue is geared towards giving promoters what they want, and to a slightly lesser degree giving what their ticket buyers want. They've got to make sure the ticket buyer has a good user experience, but they're not developing tools for sponsors because they're unsure if they're going to get paid for them. I mean, if I go to my CTO and say, I want to do this really cool functionality, they're going, okay, does that help us sell more tickets? Does that help us to monetize more? And if the answers are no to quite a lot of those questions, it's like, well, I'm not going to develop it. And I'd say, well, why don't we develop it? Because then perhaps more promoters will give us more business, right? Because we've got more tools for sponsors. So therefore, we've got to communicate rather than educate the promoters into, here are all the great entitlements that digital tickets and here's all the great entitlements that digital tickets can provide you. Why don't you go off and sell those to your sponsors? They're all cool. I mean, they're amazing tools. Amazing. We'll perhaps still touch on some of those later.
Oh, yeah. Well, you bring up two good things, right? So the number one thing is we got to look at the incentives, right? So anybody asks me any question, because there's a lot of them that I answer over and over, and I go, well, you got to look at the incentives. And the incentives, like you said, people are super busy, or they're not getting paid for something, or it doesn't add value for them. They might be unlikely to do it. But the second thing that you brought up, which was a really great one about talking to the CTO and saying, oh, well, why don't we do this or why don't we do that, brings me back to another topic that I love to talk about, which is research, right? And understanding what exactly is valuable to the market. And so when we were talking about this idea of unlocking the maximum value for partners and sponsorships and teams and organizations in the ticketing ecosystem, I started thinking about research. And it seems that me, and I may be wrong, so if I am, you slap me down, you tell me I'm a knucklehead. It's totally fine. That's what I'm here for. How much research have you done over the years, or have you seen about the different, the amount of revenue that's unrealized, or the amount of opportunities that are missed, or different ways that people are looking to gain value from their live event experience? Because there's some really, really great numbers out there.
Yeah, I mean, there's huge amounts of stats. I mean, we've done a lot of research into what marketeers say they want and how the attendees respond. I mean, I can give a couple of them. There's a Wakefield research thing here that 2/3 of live event attendees say they're more open to new ideas, brands, and products when they're experiencing strong emotions. Obviously, live events elicit strong emotions. EMI and Mosaic came up with this fact: about 84% of event attendees say they have a more positive opinion about the company, brand, or product or service that's being promoted after the event. Endless Events 2018, they say an overwhelming majority of event marketeers, 86% of them, believe that technology can have a major positive impact on the success of their events. I mean, I've got hundreds of these stats out there. And ticketing can be the intersection for this, between the brand and the event organizers and the event attendee.
Let me ask you this too, because like some of the numbers, and I've looked at some of the similar numbers because we've been going back and forth about this for about a week or two, are coming from 2018, 2019. What have you seen change due to the pandemic? Because at least in the research that I've done and in the conversations I'm having, there have been some changes in behavior, right? Which obviously, because people were forced to isolate or forced to distance themselves, events couldn't go on or didn't go on with fans. How much change has happened since the pandemic? Has it accelerated the trends of people really finding value in this? Has it increased the emotional connection? Has it dampened it? What have you seen?
Well,
You may have seen nothing, man. I don't know.
Well, first of all, people's willingness to go to live events it differs throughout the globe depending on how you feel about COVID and stuff. But I mean, what I've seen, I'm based in the UK at the moment, and what I've seen is that live events that never have sold out in the past are all absolutely selling out at the moment. So people's need to go out and enjoy themselves is absolutely huge. The people are exploding to go and have fun, and so live events can be part of that for one. Also, what I've seen is that willingness to change. I mean, if you meet anyone that says they haven't changed much in the last few years with regards to this COVID pandemic, about their behaviour or about how they touch people, don't touch people, how they react with friends and things, I think there's hardly anyone who hasn't been significantly affected by this. And so, I mean, the job I wish I'd been in over the last few years would be digital transformation, because if you've been in it for the last 20 years, you'd have hated it because everyone says it's impossible to change. And yet in the last year or two, it's absolutely accelerated like you cannot believe. So therefore, people's willingness to try new things has also changed, I think, exponentially. And so when you go to people with ideas, one, you can shoot ideas to them over a Zoom call for people you never would have been able to meet in the past because they're too busy to meet you or whatever. But now suddenly over Zoom or whatever, whichever, Teams or whatever you're using, suddenly you've got way more access to people, and they're way more willing to say yes and shoot them an idea, and they're willing to be open to that. So I think things have changed extraordinarily. I mean, I was listening to I think he was the head of commercial for Manchester City, one of the biggest soccer clubs in the world, huge budgets, and they were saying, in fact, music to my ears, actually said something like, digital ticketing has opened up a whole new world of opportunities for sponsorship activations, things they never would have dreamed of in the past. Now, I am trying to get hold of the guy from Manchester City to talk to him about some of my ideas, so if anyone knows that person, you want to drop me a line, that would be great, with their contact details. But I would love to have a chat, because I've got a bunch of ideas.
Yeah, no, I would say that Absolutely right. Depending on your location, your COVID fear, it changes everything. Right. That's 100% accurate. That's even been reflected in the way I've seen people act in my time up and down the East Coast over the last couple months. The willingness to change, it's absolutely. It seems like 100%. From what I've seen, I think. It was one of those things I was concerned about, right? Was that people were just going to rush back into like, we're just going to hopefully do things the way we've always done them, which, is kind of like not my gig, right? It's like if you're going to improve, you have to always be building and improving on what you've always done. And the digital transformation thing is completely certain. And I will plug my partner, Catherine, here right now, because she just won an award for like digitally transforming her business. And, she works in mergers and acquisitions and e-discovery. So it's highly technical legal field and something that they said you could never do remotely. And she was able to her and her team in like 30 or 45 days, they rebuilt their entire business to be able to do it virtually. And it was amazing. I mean, she worked her ass off, but they did a great job. But you're seeing that everywhere, right? Because you do have greater access, right? And you do have, people are looking for ideas that maybe would have been shot down as irrelevant or impossible or just too far out into the future. Now those ideas are definitely catching weight, and it's really great because it gives you a chance to rethink your business, right? Which is, I think, really what you're talking about, in the way you create value, right? And the way that you engage people, because we have changed, right? Our behaviors have changed. People are yearning to go to events, right? I've been to more sold out events in the last, since April, when the restrictions lessened in DC, than I've been in years, right? Because everything I go to seems almost to have been sold out in some way. So it's nice. Knowing all of this, right? Giving you a chance to catch your breath, like I often do by going on a monologue. There's the trick. There's that.
No,
trick.
I like it.
Yeah. I give you a chance to gather your thoughts here. Yeah. Knowing all these things are going on, what steps can an organization, right? So if you are, let's say you're a business, right, and you are looking to bring people back into the office, or looking to bring people back to entertain them, or looking to bring them to events, right? Things have changed. Things are still uncertain, but that there's all these stats, right? Like 2/3 of people are super excited and more likely to engage with a product if they're at a live event. 87% of CEOs will understand the power of live events as a way to connect with their customers or their partners or their sponsors or their prospects. Knowing stuff like this is going on, how do you advise people to take action on this, right? How do you get people to actually use the tickets or the events better now?
Right. I mean, we advise, we can actually, our business is quite a lot of consultation. So we've got a B2C ticketing company and a B2B ticketing company. So that means that we have our own company that sells tickets on behalf of promoters and event organizers. And we have a company whereby we sell ticketing systems to venues, promoters, and other people, media companies, and so on and so forth. I mean, I'd actually love to sell a ticketing system to a massive sponsor, which I think is very valid, actually, that a huge sponsor should definitely consider having their own ticketing company on.
Tell me why. Why do you think that?
Well, because there's so many activations that you could do with ticketing that many ticketing companies don't supply these sponsors, and so they're not getting bang for their buck, in my opinion. Also, a lot of these sponsors
give me an example. Go a little deeper on that. Let's say if they're missing opportunities, because you used a good one about the World Cup and Qatar Air before.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Qatar Air that is sponsoring the FIFA World Cup in Qatar next year, I mean, the ticketing system they're using, I doubt has got many activation entitlements they've given to Qatar Air. So the really simple one they could do is that anyone who buys a ticket or is fortunate enough to receive a ticket, it's likely it's going to be a digital ticket, I'd imagine. And so the the chances of an open rate on that email that's going to contain this ticket is probably, I'm guessing, nigh on 100%. I mean, how many people are going to get an email that says, here's your ticket for the Qatar World Cup? Are you going to bother opening it or not? I'm guessing it's going to be 100% open rate. And so in that email that contains the ticket, which you probably download into a wallet or something, why couldn't there be an activation which helps Qatar achieve, the sponsorship team of Qatar achieve some of their KPIs? And let's say one of their KPIs is we want someone to download our Q Miles app. Well, then why can't you have a link to downloading the Q Miles app, and in it an incentive to make sure people do it by offering 1,000 Q Miles for all people that download an app from who've bought a ticket or have been given a ticket. I mean, I'd imagine that would be absolutely enormous, the take up. And if you think that open rates on most people's marketing campaigns, it depends on which industry you're in, but they're in the low single digits normally. And click-through rates obviously are a percentage of that percentage. And so I would imagine that Q Miles campaign on giving 1,000 Q Miles away with a ticket as long as you download the app would be extremely successful.
Yeah, no, we were talking about this, and this is an important point that I probably will highlight here. For most bad marketers, right? I'm going to go ahead and stake my claim in here that I am not a bad marketer. I'm going to actually say I'm probably a fairly good one. They will try to tell you that an open rate of 2 to 3% is good. It's awful. It means you're doing a bad job, or you don't have the right audience. You've trained your audience to ignore your messages. You're just sending too many. There's a whole bunch of things. What it means is you're failing. And then your click-through rate is usually 2 or 3% on top of that. So if you send out 1 million emails and 2% opens, and 2 to 3% of those, you're getting 100 or people possibly clicking through, and your conversion rate is probably less than 10%. You're not being successful. I'm going to open the door into the Dave Wakeman universe real quickly here to show you what a halfway competent marketer would do. The Talking Tickets newsletter, which everybody can get, talkingtickets.substack.com, has an open rate of between 45 and 50% each week. And of that, there's about a 15 to 18% click-through rate on that. And whenever there's anything that's like a book or anything for sale, the conversion rate on those click-throughs is another 25% typically, right? So some of those are links to articles that I'm linking to, but like anytime there's something like an activation or a call to action, the click-through rate is about, or the taking action rate is about 25% on the click-through. So if the newsletter is read by 10,000 people, that's what's that? 25% of that is 2,500. And so that if they click through, we're talking about 500 or 600 people are buying a book because I said so. So that's huge. What a real but that's what a real activation that is done well probably should look like. I'm sure there's people doing better than me, but that's what goes on behind my thing. And it's important because we were talking about this, and it's like, you have to pay attention to what your goals are. Like the key idea that I think Martin's making here is that you got to put your strategy before your tactics. And the strategy is going to tell you where you will compete and how you will win, what's meaningful, what's actionable, and what does success look like, and that's kind of the key of this whole thing about measuring the right things, doing the right activations, and creating value. Because now I'm going to turn it over to Martin, another monologue here, because people are sponsoring events, not just because they want to slap their name on something, but Martin, why are people, in your experience, the different reasons that people are sponsoring events? Because it's not just about eyeballs; it goes beyond that. And
there's like hundreds of reasons. I mean, they could want it for brand association. Like Pepsi wants to be associated with Michael Jackson. By the way, I'm old, so I probably, when I talk about bands or people, half of them may be dead. There's brand awareness. They want their logo in places. It could be client entertainment or hospitality. It could be cross-promotional activities, customer acquisition and retention, customer engagement, offline activation, membership reward program things that could be involved in, lots of things, PR, reach new audiences, staff entertainment. I mean, you've got to be able to. What's quite interesting is that whenever I as head of sponsorship for Clock and Flap, which is the music and arts festival that I'm involved in, which is in Hong Kong. You've got to say it slowly, Clock and Flap. I mean, the first thing I would ask a sponsor is, well, what are your KPIs? What do you want to achieve? And I remember, I'm not going to tell you the bank's name, but I remember one bank came to me and said, we really want to get people to acquire credit cards. And the reason for that is because they think a lifetime value of a credit card acquisition, or the value to them, is like $200 or whatever it was at the time, to acquire someone. And so they said, right, we want to get 200 people to sign up to get a credit card, and so we want to sponsor your event. And I said, okay, what do you want to do with that? And they said, well, we want to have basically very attractive boys and girls, young, very attractive, standing. As soon as people walk in through the gates to our wonderful music and arts festival, they wanted some boys and girls wearing nice clothes and looking really cool to walk straight out in front of them and say, do you want to have a whatever credit card? Fill in this form. That's going to kill my event, right? So what I did with them is I said, okay, well, if I can create an activation that can get you those 200 credit card signees before the event even starts, can you not do that activation on site? Because I don't want to kill my event by having people wandering around saying, do you want to sign up to a credit card? And I mean, we didn't end up actually doing this, but we have done it with another card operator, that we have delivered an activation whereby we got X number of people acquiring a credit card to an event before they turned up at the event, because in that email that sent them the ticket, they had, do you want to have a XYZ credit card? And they actually did apply for it, which means that the event organizer's happy because they haven't got lots of people running around on site shoving forms in their faces, and also the sponsor's really happy. So we have to talk to the sponsor about what they are trying to achieve and see if we've got a mechanism to help them with that.
Well, right. And this is something that I'll plug another thing I'm working on, which is I'm going to be speaking in Vegas on August 15th, 16th, and 17th at the ALSD and Ticket Summit. And one of the things I'm going to be doing is doing a training for young salespeople in sports business, mostly like premium. But one of the things that I'm going to bring up, and if I only get this point across, I'll be successful. So if it's important for them, it's important for people listening today, which is you got to improve your business acumen, right? And what Martin, I think, is saying here, and again, this is like, so he could smack me around and like tell me how much of a knucklehead I am, is part of the activation and maximizing the value of a partnership is understanding just what Martin was talking about, which is what are your goals? What are your KPIs? Like, what does success look like for you? Because you can create something that won't detract from your event. Because in too many instances, when you go to an event, these activations and these partnerships are done in such a clumsy way that it detracts from the event, right? It probably has, yeah. And what it does is it has the opposite impact on your brand. It has the opposite impact on the experience. It has it turns all these positive things around. And so you have to be smarter, right? Like Martin says, we don't want people like standing there inundating people as they walk in the door. Like, you want to sign up for the credit card? No, you want to make it a little more subtle, right? Like a little more like cool, right? Like in the lead up, right? You know, if you sign up for the credit card now, maybe you get like a $10, like a credit for a free drink at the,
too right.
You know, at the thing, you get a half off. Well, I hate discounts, Martin, but maybe you get a special price on a T-shirt, right? Some kind of merchandise or something. I almost walked into my own trap.
Yes, you hate that. I know. I've read that. I mean, what I really like is that when there's twofold reasons for doing this. When someone attends the event, right, we scan their tickets, right? And when it's scanned, we know they've scanned a ticket. We know they've turned up. Now, there's something called, I think it's called almost friendly fraud, where people turn up to your event, then they enjoy it, but then later on they say, I didn't turn up, and they go back to the credit card company and say, can I have a sort of refund for the ticket or something? Anyway, that happens. So to prevent that happening, we can send them a message by saying, as soon as they hit a redemption, as soon as the ticket's been redeemed, we've scanned their ticket, we send them an email or an SMS or something that says, thank you very much for turning up to Clock and Flap or whatever it is, right? But at the same time, we can say, Clock and Flap sponsored by Cathay Pacific, which it is actually. So Clock and Flap is sponsored by Cathay Pacific. Don't forget to go to the Cathay Pacific activation in the southwest corner. There's a bunch of really cool things to do. We can do that because now the sponsor's really happy, because one of their KPIs is how many people are going to come to my activation in at Clock and Flap. And so we are thanking people for turning up. It's a sponsored message by Cathay. Go and visit our thing. It's in the southwest corner. Oh, I know where it is. And suddenly they go. And suddenly 20% more people went to that activation than they did last year. Brilliant, right? Cathay's really happy. It's a nice message. We're really happy. Everyone works out nicely.
Yeah. The Asia Miles program is great since we were on Airline Miles. I'm a big fan of Cathay Pacific.
Well, actually, the thing I mentioned before about when someone opens up the email to receive their ticket, we had a unique promo code in that gave people 10% off Cathay flights. So we had a system whereby it would generate a unique code, so Cathay could track all this. It wasn't just one code, and it could have been shared with other people. We knew exactly how many people activated that, and Cathay were very happy with that.
Yeah, and that's to say best practice of direct marketing, right? It's like you want to know where your activation, where your people are coming from, right? Because most, I think it's a BS stat, but most of the time they go, oh, well, half of my advertising and marketing budget is wasted because I don't know which half. Yeah. This is stuff that is easily used. This is something where, digital has improved it a lot, and it's simple to do, right? And it pays off, right? And the key thing is it increases the value for the sponsor. You probably, Martin, I'm going to ask you, you don't have to tell me how much, but I'm going to know the answer here is probably yes. Is you also have a chance to justify your prices much more easily and either get the prices you charge or increase them because you can show real results. Right? Martin's shaking his head. He knew I was right because I wasn't gonna. I don't take blind shots on these things. Come on.
Yeah. I mean, it's difficult to put up your prices, but put it this way: if I've got some features that other people don't have and we cost the same price, of course they're going to go with us. Of course.
You don't have to discount either, right? Yeah, because a lot of times when you're getting in these big partnerships, everybody's trying to squeeze down the price, get the most for the least. Yeah. But if you show real results, that justifies your price, which is key for people anywhere, right? It's keep showing the value and you can justify the price. You can get away from that stupid offer I almost made of a discount.
Yeah, never do that. No, our retention is very high. Very high. And one thing we haven't touched on, we're just talking about ticketing. There's lots of other things. So we'd like to give a few more examples maybe, but our ticketing company is integrated, right? So we are integrated with the digital marketing company. We have digital tickets and we have an RFID cashless payments and access control system, which people in the event industry would understand that jargon. I'm not too sure if we want to go through and explain it all now, but what that basically means is if you integrate all those, you can identify internet behavior, you can identify A/B testing and remarketing and all this sort of stuff to make things really efficient. Then you work out who's buying your tickets, and afterwards when they're on site, who bought what and where and why and stuff with the access control and RFID. Mm-hmm. So I'll give a very short example. I had a sponsor asking me once, how much data have you got? And I said, well, how much data do you want? I've got it all. And then I asked a rhetorical question. I said, who do you think is the most profitable ticket buyer for us? The student who buys the early bird on day one when we go on the sale, or the rich banker who buys the VIP ticket 2 days before the event? Right? Who am I going to make most money from? And I said, you don't have to answer that. The person is absolutely clearly the student who buys the early bird ticket. And the reason why is because he's offered us some behaviour analysis with his behaviour online for remarketing. When he turns up to the event, he's already spent the budget on the tickets, and now he's got a whole new budget for burgers and stuff. He has got loads of friends, so he's going to tell loads of his friends to turn up. When he's on site, he's going to take lots of video and post it to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram about what a great event we have. And the rich banker, which I used to be one, maybe not so much rich, but I definitely used to be a banker. I've got no mates, right? I'm only going to turn up for the three bands I really like on, the one band on the Friday, the one band on the Saturday, and the one band on the Sunday. I've got no mates. I'm not influencing anyone else to turn up. I might be in the VIP area, so I'm not spending any money on extra burgers and whatever. And I've got no social influence, and I bugger off.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. It was an example. I went to a baseball game a couple weeks ago, and I was talking to some partners that I have, and they were saying, "Oh, with this digital ticketing, right? Like they can do it through the ballpark app for MLB, that how much more data, useful data they had,
Yeah.
which is like." And so then they were explaining to me, we did this college student ticket special because we have a lot of colleges in our town, and the per cap on the college kids was like so much higher
Yeah.
than anybody else because all they were
Of
doing
course.
was buying beer the whole time. And it
Yeah.
was like they were like, "This is amazing," and they're like, "Oh, this helps us understand because they're much more valuable than anyone else." And they bring atmosphere. They bring, like you said, social influence.
Yeah.
They create like
The
they're more
buzz, the atmosphere,
fun. Yeah,
everything.
it's just the whole thing is great. But you think that like the highest price point at the front end is always, or you don't, but like a lot of people think that the just maximizing the ticket at the front end is the most valuable thing, and it's sometimes not. Sometimes it is, but most of the time
Depends
not
on what type of
necessarily.
event you have. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. There's loads of things you could do with digital ticket. What I don't understand at all is that when you buy a ticket, normally what happens is that you get a an opt-in to receive data. Sorry, so that you opt in to receive marketing materials from the ticketing company, right? Sometimes you might have an opt-in to, so that if you opt in, then you're allowing the promoter to get your details, right? I absolutely don't understand why there isn't an opt-in there to allow the promoter to pass on the details of those that opt in to the sponsor, right? If the sponsor wants to get email addresses for attendees for a live event, I mean, some promoters won't want to pass it on, I'm sure, but some promoters might be okay about that. I've never seen an opt-in button for, do you want to opt in to see your marketing tools from the sponsor? And the other thing I don't understand is that many tickets, digital tickets, it's very easy to pass them around. Right? Whereas with physical tickets, when you buy a ticket, if you want to give it to your friend or something, that's a physical meet them, or meet them at the event just beforehand and pass them on. But with digital ticketing, you can pass those things around really easily, right? If the promoter allows you to transfer tickets. And in those, I've never seen a opt-in for a further opt-in for marketing materials for the promoter, or more importantly, an opt-in for the sponsor. Because if you think, if you've got a 10,000 event and the average person buys 2 tickets, therefore you've got 5,000 ticket buyers. If you've got a 10% opt-in to receive marketing materials for the promoter, they're getting 500 opt-ins, right? But yet they're going to be passing half of those tickets maybe to other people. You double the amount of opt-ins you got if you put in a opt-in button on the transfer to tickets. See, when you transfer it to someone, they receive that email and say, "Do you want to receive marketing materials?" You just go, "Yes." I've never seen it.
I was going to say though, and there's two tricks to maximizing those opt-ins. Number one's asking people, allowing people to opt in, but then the second most valuable thing, or the second best thing, is to offer some value for getting
Yes,
people
of
to
course.
sign up.
Yeah.
Because most people are like afraid to give something away. I'm like going, how much do you spend on acquiring a customer
Yes,
or
yeah,
a email sign in? I go, so give them a friggin' t-shirt. I don't care. It's like, I'm like going, I come from nightclubs. I started out in nightclubs. While Martin was a rich banker, I was a poor nightclub promoter. Not really.
I'm
But
sure.
the thing I was like going, let's give people something that, number one, it's like they love, because everybody loved the free t-shirt, right? It created brand affinity. It got a higher uptake. It increased our per cap spending, like all these positive things. It's like, first ask and then offer some value to increase the ask
Yeah.
offer, right? Like
I
people
mean,
love this stuff.
you've just given me a great idea. Why don't we do that for the next Clock and Flap, right? And Cathay might be the sponsor. We'll say, if you click here to receive marketing materials from Cathay, you get 1,000 Asia miles, right?
Right. Or you can have, like, I mean, a cool thing, right? For them might even, and again, a cultural thing. They could offer up they design, their designers create a t-shirt or a poster or some kind of piece of swag or merchandise that you have to go to the activation to pick up, right? And with that goes along with that text that they get that says, go to the Cathay Pacific and pick up your thing, right? See, I'll be expecting my commission check pretty quickly. That'll be great.
Margins are extra thin in ticketing these days, but yes, of course, you get that.
Of course, yes, of course. So So let me ask you one final thing then before we go. Looking at the thing, because you have, like me, you have a kind of a global perspective on these things. What are some of the things you're looking forward to either changing or improving coming out of the pandemic? Because I mean, we've been goofing off and having fun here, talking about ways people to add value. But what is from your point of view, what does the future look like? Because Asia is, at a different spot in the pandemic than, Europe where you're at right now, or even America where I am. What do you see in it? Like, what does the future look like from your point of
view? I think the digital transformation thing is quite interesting. In Asia, where I used to live for 17 years, amazingly, none of the ticketing companies there really do any cross-country selling at all. So imagine if you're in America and you've got 51 states, or 50 states. It's a bit like Texas not cross-selling to any events that are happening in Arizona. I mean, it's crazy, right? You've got to be able to cross-sell. I mean, some of the distances between Arizona and Texas are greater than quite a lot of the distances between the countries in Asia. I speak to B2C ticketing companies in Asia all the time. There are about 120 of them that I know of, and I probably know the key decision makers in quite a few of those. And digital, in the past, they've been very, very, very conservative, and they're less so now. So they want to have more conversations about cross-selling, about digitalization and things. And so what I think is going to come out of this is a lot more collaborative conversation, because in the past, if I'd rung up these people, they'd all be just too busy for one of it. And also, because they're too busy and they're a bit siloed, they wouldn't really be into much business development. But I think biz dev has exploded recently.
No, that's good. No. I think that, again, go out and talk to people if you can, make sure you add value, right? Which I think Martin does. Me, I'm a little 50-50 if I add value most of the time. I think that's absolutely correct. I think,
but I want us to go, me and you, I want us to go to places like Azerbaijan. I want you and I to go to Kazakhstan. I mean, these places, I actually have been to these places on holiday, which makes it a bit easier for me to visualize what it's like. But some people think these places are backwaters. But I mean, Azerbaijan's got the Formula One Grand Prix a while ago. There's a lot of money out there, a lot of forward thinking out there. That I'd like to go to some of the less obvious countries and help them leapfrog. Not go from laptop to mobile, go straight to mobile. Don't have to go through this horrible transition that people are so wed to physical tickets and they have to go to digital tickets. We go straight to digital tickets. Yep. I think there's a huge brave new world out there of these markets that are really willing to do some interesting stuff.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of markets that are completely underserved. Like when I go and do my research each week for these things, it's like, some of them seem obvious. Like you would think too that they were cutting edge, like Singapore. Singapore is like a huge place of opportunity because we shouldn't be giving away these things on air, but I guess we're doing it now because they just don't see it. But Singapore has its own domestic soccer league. It has racing. It has all these things. And again, you be a little creative about the way you approach sponsorship, partnerships, business development, all these things. You'll be success. You'll have a great deal more success because
I think you do know if you're going to go there. I think you do need to have understand the culture of these places because
absolutely,
that's a bit tricky. I mean, you rock up and thinking this place is a backwater. I'm the educated Western guy. I know what's going on. I mean, there's lots of cultural differences that you have to be aware of, but I do think there's a huge amount of opportunity.
There definitely is, and I don't want to give away too much more because I don't want people stealing our thunder.
actually, everyone, don't go to Azerbaijan, and if you go before me, I'll be really upset.
Yeah, don't do it. Don't do it. It's totally a backwater. People are lame. Hey, Martin, where can people find you on the internet, man?
That's really kind of you. Yeah. Well, my company is called Total Ticketing. And I'm based in the UK, but we have offices now. We have offices all over the place in the US, in Singapore, in the Philippines, in Hong Kong, in Macau. We've got lots of people now. So totalticketing.com. That's where you can find me. Martin Haigh. Haigh is spelled a strange way. Haigh. So I get a lot of people. used to really annoy me when used to live in America. I used to turn up to go to like some really cool sort of spots for dinner and stuff, and I'd say my name and no one could understand it. And then some Polish guy would turn up with a name that's got 18 letters long with way too many consonants, and they'd always be able to pronounce their name, but not mine. Anyway, that's a bit of a long story.
There's a huge Polish population in New York. That's why everybody knows. Everybody knows it. Well, Martin, thanks so much for doing this, man.
No, thank you very much. It's always great to speak with you. I always enjoy it. So thank you.
Let me know what you thought about my conversation with Martin. Send me an email. It's dave@davewakeman.com. Check out the brand new and improved davewakeman.com. My designer did an incredible job. There's statistics, there's blogs, there's a store now. It's incredible, right? And there's all kinds of crazy stuff I'm about to do with this thing. So check it out. Let me know what you think. Send me an email, dave@davewakeman.com. Get the Talking Tickets newsletter, talkingtickets.substack.com, or there's a box on the Dave Wakeman website. 5 stories each Friday, analysis, action items, new ideas all the time, constantly. It's great, great, great. People read it on every continent except for Antarctica, because I don't think they sell tickets on Antarctica. If they do, I got to get there. It's going to be amazing. But talkingtickets.substack.com. Make sure you check out Booking Protect. I gave you the 73% number at the start of the podcast. I'm going to give you a different number now, which is that refund protection for the year of 2021, since tickets around the world have started going back on sale, is about 1/3. So 1/3 of customers are taking up refund protection, according to the data that and the numbers that I was able to see from Booking Protect. That's 1 in 3. It's a super valuable resource that tells me that people are still looking for some peace of mind and some certainty in the purchases they're making. Check them out, bookingprotect.com. Talk to Kath, Haley, Simon. Talk to anyone there. They're all incredible people. They've been supporters and friends and partners of me for years now, and I think the world of them. So take that as the biggest endorsement I can give. Check out the worksheet on Net Promoter Score that I created with my friends at Eventellect. Like I mentioned at the intro for Martin, the Patrick Ryan episode where we talked about value is a great resource to think through as you work through this Net Promoter Score worksheet. Net Promoter Score is a single metric, and it tells you, if you track it, whether or not you're getting better or worse at your business. It can usually predict growth or decline in a business. It's an incredibly simple thing to measure. It can give you qualitative and quantitative research data, and it takes about 5 or 10 minutes to pull the thing together. So we did this worksheet. Send me an email. It's dave@davewakeman.com. I will send you a copy. It's awesome. Make sure you check out my friends at ActivityStream. The new Activate email marketing platform is awesome. Okay, it'll help you re-engage with your customers. It'll help you turn your data into actionable insights. It will help you reconnect with your audience now. So activitystream.com, it's awesome. As always, thank you so much for being here, and I'll talk to you soon. Take it easy.